Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 19 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm David.
I'm Alex.
I'm going Hoyo.
We are here to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. So before we kind of dive into our topics of the day, I wanted to kind of catch you up a little bit on what we've been doing. At our kind of friendly local gaming store over the summer, we've been doing a What If League. We've kind of talked about it a little bit previously. But Alex, you're kind of running the show on that. You want to catch the webheads up on exactly sort of what's happening and how it's working?
Yeah, so I think it's going pretty well so far. There's just one downside that I see to it right now, and it's just people scheduling games. I've come to find is a little difficult for some people. But real life happens, and things happen. But overall, I think it's going pretty well. I don't like playing Cabal without their tricks, and it's partially on my fault too, because I'm playing models that I haven't painted. The second half to this draft league, but it's getting real hard playing Cabal without all the cool tricks.
Just for somebody who might have missed it, can you do a quick summary of exactly what the league is and how it works?
So the league, we did a draft league. It was an S-style draft, and the way we did it, we specified that every model in your roster will be affiliated at squad selection, as long as 50% of the affiliated models in your affiliated list were selected, up to 5. So that way, in situations where somebody wanted to play Avengers, they got to play with up to, or they had to have at least 5 affiliated models in the roster for their entire squad every game to be affiliated. And it didn't stick Avengers or Cabal with having to take all 10 affiliated models, because then that would defeat the purpose of having the draft league the way it is.
So, and Alex, you said that you're playing Cabal. JP, what's your list that you're playing in this league, and how you feel like it's going?
I'm playing dog shit. I'm just going about how it would go if you stepped in dog shit.
That well, huh? And
yeah, like the dog's been eating a lot of spinach. and it's
yet,
like green tinged She-Hulk.
She-Hulk needs some help.
And
She-Hulk's not.
And yet somehow you still managed
help.
to beat. And yet still somehow you managed to beat me.
I mean, I squeaked it out.
You did. It was
It was a pretty close game.
It was. That's true. David, how's what are you playing, and how's your roster going?
I got the X-Men, and I actually really like the X-Men. I think Xavier's leadership is bananas.
Yeah, you've kind of become a Professor X convert, haven't you?
Yeah, I really like his leadership.
Oh. Yeah, I had this whole idea that I was going to do an experiment to see if Corvus's First of the Black Order leadership made sense, if everybody in the list instead of just Black Order got the power, which would have worked better had it not worked out that there were 2 people trying to do Black Order, and so we just ended up competing against each other and kind of cannibalizing each other, and it's kind of been a car crash ever since. But I guess that's kind of the nature of the beast. So,
there were the two Black Order, and did we have 3 Asgard? Am I remembering this right?
No, just 2.
Was it only 2? Okay.
I think I think it was 2, but that kind of created the same dynamic where, well, at least with Asgard, it wasn't. I mean, the biggest problem we had was it was a race to stay affiliated. So, like, I had to take, my first 3-4 picks were all, what am I going to take to stay affiliated, and all his 3 first picks were all, what were you going to take to stay affiliated? I screwed up. I took Taskmaster. I should have taken one of the models I hadn't painted, like Black Swan or Supergiant. But that was that was just me tilting in the process of a draft. Which, if anybody's ever played with me in fantasy football, you'll know that happens all the time, all the freaking time.
I mean,
So-
who
I
would have
get
suspected?
wanting.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead, JP.
Who would have suspected Michael would swipe Black Swan so early?
Thank you. I was
Under-
just gonna say that.
I know. I've been working hard to angle a Black Swan trade because I bought the Black Swan and Supergiant box, which I probably never would have done otherwise. And they're sitting and they're ready to paint, and I haven't quite done it yet. So we'll have to get on that. So Alex, what are we looking at in terms of the future of the What If League?
I foresee less D scenarios getting played because I think we played almost half of them already. Because
yeah.
in the every round the crises are random, and I'm only going to allow them to get played once during the league.
That's an interesting kind of flavor of the league that I really like. So I'm anxious to see how that plays out.
I feel as though people are at least enjoying that part a little bit more. Except JP, I'm so sorry you got hit with 2 affiliations that can pivot on Bs way easier than A Force can. But that was just crappy draw.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't even know what A Force is trying to do. Oh, I have a suboptimal A Force list anyway. Not only was it a draft that had stuff stolen, but also I was drafting on painted shit. So that's how it goes.
Yeah.
But I found out in a painful manner that I just hate playing fucking casually.
Yeah.
It pains me.
Yeah, that I can see that not being your vibe. And it's very casual. Like in we're doing a kind of a waiver list, and in this league I'm probably going to be dropping Luke Cage for the original Human Torch, so that'll tell you kind of how competitive this league is.
Oh, you're dropping Luke Cage?
Yeah, I need to get some stuff painted, and it's a good excuse to get it painted. And then that was one of the ones I just bought, and I think he'll be fun to paint. So I want to kind of get him on the table and get rolling with that. So yeah,
See if Michael will trade Luke Cage for Swan. Not only because he said he needs to finish his Luke Cage painting, but like he doesn't.
That's all right. I'll work that. I'll work that. So
I bet
maybe
trade. Cage is really good with Steve.
Maybe I'll wait to post this episode until after my trade negotiations are finished.
There
It is the advantage of doing all the editing work. I will give that. So okay, so a little business. We do have a giveaway to announce. So for those of you who might be new, or those of you who might have just forgotten, we do giveaways. We try to do it every other episode. Sometimes I forget, which happens. So, but we are due a giveaway. So any of the new boxes that have come out, which can be Apocalypse or Angel, and I mean, who wouldn't pick Angel? I mean, Friday was Angel Day, for heaven's sake. You can get that. So Billy Nichols, who is an Itsy Bitsy Spider on Patreon, congratulations. You are the proud recipients of a box. I'll reach out to you and you can let me know what you would like to do. If you would like to get in on this wonderful, wonderful giveaway opportunity, you can support us at patreon.com/Witty Banter. For $1 a month for Itsy Bitsy Spider, or for $5 a month at a Spider Friend, you can get either 1 or 2 entries into the giveaway, as well as get priority dojoing of rosters, so we can help you out with your rosters, get questions answered, and all kinds of other benefits. The other way you can support us, and this doesn't cost any money at all, so listen up, webheads, is to, on iTunes or Spotify or anyplace else, give us a rating and give us a review. It's been a minute since we've gotten any new ones, and we've been not to be too self-congratulatory, but we've been working hard in terms of improving our audio quality, and figuring out some of the details about how to do podcasting. When we did our collaboration with House Party Protocol, Will was really helpful for me. I'm brand new at this. This is my first podcast. This is my first. I'm a babe in the woods with regards to this, and I really got some help just in terms of the nuts and bolts of how to do it. So hopefully, we've been getting better, and hopefully, you've been enjoying the content that we've been creating. If that's the case, if you could just take 2 minutes and give us a rating and give us a review on iTunes or on Spotify or whatever other podcatcher that you're getting, that really does make a big difference in terms of people being able to find us, people being able to come into the neighborhood, being able to grow this community that we're trying to grow. So we would really, really appreciate that. So Billy, congratulations. I'll be reaching out to you and we'll be getting your box out ASAP.
I think it goes, "Oh, Billy, congratulations." I did that really badly. I was trying to do a referenceception thing with Cable
I like
Guy.
it. Oh no,
Well,
I saw what you were doing there. That works.
I feel like I sound like an old man. Let me do it again. "Oh,
Okay.
Billy, congratulations." That's Billy's grandpa.
Yep. Still old Manny, but I think that works for you. That works. The other thing we want to do is catch up. A couple episodes ago, we did a Defenders Dojo with Ben, who sent us in a list. Which, by the way, if you have a list that you would like us to go over to talk through and maybe help you get better, send us an email at wittybantercast@gmail.com or reach out to us on any of the socials: Instagram, twitter.com, Facebook, YouTube, what's the demon app that I'm now completely forgetting? Oh, TikTok.
TikToks.
We are all over the place, man, and we would love to see your rosters. Ben sent us a dual affiliated Web Warriors Midnight Suns roster, which we kind of dove into, and at least one of us may be doing a little bit of playing once we get done with this. This draft league. So Ben sent us an email yesterday, actually, said that he gave the list a try at a 4-round tournament. He had to make some tweaks to it based on some changes, which, spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about here in just a little bit. But he said he went 2-2, and the games that he lost due to misordered activations, which, Ben, totally feeling you, right there with you. I know exactly that pain. I got you on this one. I hear you on that. So he's rolling with the roster that we helped him out with, and it sounds like he's having some success with it. So love to hear how, Ben, love to hear from you in terms of some additional information and updates on how your roster's going. And if rest of you all in the neighborhood, if you've got a roster that you'd like us to talk about and chew upon and think about, just send it over to us at wittybantercast@gmail.com. And if you happen to be a Patreon, you will happen to get a priority dojo of your roster. So, hey, it's amazing how that works. We can be bought for so little. It's just somewhat depressing. So, that's all the business we got. So thanks again. I'll say it up front. We really appreciate everybody that listens to us, everybody that provides feedback for us. We're doing this. This is, we would be doing this anyway, hanging out after Friday Night Gaming. So we're kind of just doing it now in a way that we can capture and send out for everybody else. So it's a labor of love for us, but we really appreciate you guys coming along with us for the ride. And we would be very happy if you would come jump in and join the community. So thank you for that. So we got a couple things we're going to do today. First of all, there's been some new rules that we're going to go over. There's been an update to the banned and restricted list, and there's been some rule forums rulings that we're going to talk about. So we're going to go over that, and then once we go over that, we are going to start talking about what I've been waiting for what feels like for frickin' ever. I ended up showing up early, but I was supposed to be born on Halloween. So when the monsters were announced, oh my God, was I all over that. And now they're here. Now we've got them all spoiled. So we're going to be diving in on Monsters Unleashed and giving our thoughts on that crew for you. So that's the battle plan for today. So let's start with AMG gave us some updates in terms of the banned and restricted list. David, you want to kind of give us a summary of what the changes were?
So they didn't ban anything, and they restricted fallback and research
And Brothers in
And
Arms.
Brothers in Arms.
in Brothers in Arms. I forgot about Brothers
So
in
we
Arms.
got we had two tactics cards, fallback and Brothers in Arms, and then we had a crisis card, researcher, that's been restricted, not banned, but restricted. So let's kind of talk through that. JP, when you first saw that, what were your thoughts in terms of what was your first reaction? Were you surprised? Were you pleased? What did you first think when you kind of saw this come across the Twitter machine?
All right, Patrick, I'm going to derail this immediately.
Let's go. I mean, we haven't even gotten our explicit rating yet. I'm kind of disappointed.
I've just been sitting here thinking, like, I kind of want to double down and play Billy's grandpa the entire episode, but I don't know if that's going to get old because the episode might be an hour. But I'm not going to be talking the whole time. I thought it'd be funny, but maybe people would be like, what the fuck? This guy's off his fucking rocker doing the voice the entire time. So I don't know. I want your guys' input. Should I not do it? Should I do it for like a limited amount of time, or should I do it for the whole episode? Because I'm down for any of them.
I vote for you should do Billy's grandpa voice when you're talking about something that you think is stupid.
Oh,
That might be a
Okay.
lot. I mean, I get it that it might be a lot.
yeah, it's just like a lot of like code switching for me. Like it's not very. I don't know. It might work.
Alex-
It might work. I'll
Alex?
have to.
Alex, David, what do you think? I'm open. I mean, I'm the one that's got to edit all this, so we'll figure it out.
What's your opinion? Damn it!
I'm down
Wait.
for when he thinks things are stupid.
What? Speak
Yeah, I
up!
like the things are
I
stupid.
can't hear you.
I feel like that would work really well as sort of a non-direct cue in terms of what the listeners are listening for. So if you hear Billy's grandpa voice, it's like, oh, something dumb's about to come out.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll do that.
All right.
We'll
So
just have Billy's grandpa will just hop in randomly and talk shit.
Seems reasonable. All right.
All right.
So with that being said, JP and or Billy's grandpa, what did you think of the updates to the banned and restricted list?
Oh, so initially I was like, okay, fallback was kind of a no-brainer. I was really surprised it didn't get hit last time. Not that I wanted it to necessarily, because I don't know if we're quite in the space where we want to like use all affiliated cards yet. I think there's still a transition going on there for some affiliations anyway. But it was definitely not unexpected, and it's going to be a testament to fallback, I think, because I think it's still going to get run.
I think it will too.
I agree.
In certain lists, it's just still really good. Even compared to, I mean, I think Brace is kind of the ubiquitous one, and then people kind of put in Sack or Indom or Patch It. I think Brace is going to be in the mix for sure.
Yeah, it kind of feels like fallbacks on that patch up Indomitable Sacrifice tier. It's sort of like Brace is probably the one you're always going to pick, and then something in that next tier is going to come out, and it feels like fallback kind of fits in about at the level of those other cards.
Yeah, I would definitely put it around. I think Indom's on the bottom. It's still a very good card, but I think it's on the bottom.
Yeah, unless you're like playing Kingpin.
Yeah, Kingpin or like Sentinels or something.
Yeah, if you're playing something that's size 5, that you don't want to get thrown around.
Well,
Yeah.
who the hell? I mean, what kind of a lunatic would play Sentinels?
Who's dumb enough to play Sentinels? Those guys suck.
Exactly.
Hey, I'm using a Prime in my X-Men roster.
I know you are, and you're killing it with it.
Fuck you, youngin.
I think I like this. I think this is going to work out.
Billy's
David-
Rambo can be irregular. He'll just hop out.
Works for me. It's not like it's going to make this podcast make any less sense.
So researcher, also not surprising, but disappointing. Because it's just like, let's nerf half the lists in the game, and then the other half prospers because they're not there, or well, they're not that they're not there, but they're being punished for taking them. And I'm sure some lists will cut it. So
yeah,
there will be a
I
reduction.
think a lot of the lists that are running to counter like webs or something scory, they probably won't run it. Only the teams that are like good at it will probably run it now.
Yeah.
So, David, when you're saying that, you mean like teams that are just like hard aggro, teams that just really want to roll out of bed and murder you. They're still going to be running researcher regardless of the fact that it's restricted.
Well, the other thing is it's 15, right?
Right.
So like the tall fighty teams are really gonna like be looking for that.
Right.
And then
Alex,
the final
what
one,
Yeah, go ahead.
Brothers in Arms was so the more I thought about it with Researcher and Brothers in Arms, it definitely feels targeted to Asgard.
Right.
Because Asgard was running Researcher and they had a really good 15 with Loki, Fat Thor, and Bill. And then they'd run Brothers in Arms and just beat someone's face in for 2 10 dice attacks on round 2.
So let's just talk a little bit just to kind of for people who might not be right on track with it. How did having the new hero Thor coming in with the new Asgardians, how did that change how Brothers in Arms play? Maybe let do a real quick summary of what Brothers in Arms does, or I guess
he has a high dice energy builder. I mean, that's like the easy answer, right?
Okay.
On old Thor, he had a physical builder, he had a physical hammer throw, and then he had a spender that was energy, but it cost 4. So it was weird for him to do because it's
also
area,
range 2.
It's area 2, yeah. So the new Thor, just like you have 7 dice builders that go to 10. That's range 3. Like it's just
really
good.
stupid. And he can still stand. He can still stand at his range 3 and throw something at you after, which is also good.
Yeah, and pounce you.
He can pounce you, yeah.
And that does whatever the other thing is too. The other part of the card.
It can't be pushed or advanced.
Thrown?
Something. Thrown, maybe?
Push thrown?
So
it's something like that.
Brothers in Arms, for those of you who are driving and don't have it right in front of you, it's Thor Odinson and Beta Ray Bill can pay 1 each. While within 2 of each other this round, they get the following superpower called the Worthy. The character may not be advanced, thrown, or placed by enemy effects, and adds 3 dice to all energy attacks it makes. Which, when you had like Prince Thor from the kind of the early part of the game and Beta Ray Bill was nice and fun and could really be useful. But then Hero Thor rolls around, and because it's Thor Odinson, you can play it with him too. And holy buckets, that all of a sudden that become good.
Well, also round 2, if Bill only spends 1 power round 1, he'll have 3 power round 2. He spends 1 for the card, and he'll be able to summon the storm. Right. If they have a flyer within range 4, they're taking a 9 dice attack with double rerolls.
That's pretty good.
That seems pretty good.
And you can't really separate these guys because they can't be advanced, thrown, or placed. You have to push them, I guess.
So is this with taking this with Brothers in Arms? Is this AMG kind of taking quick actions to realize basically, whoops, we kind of overtuned Hero Thor with this card?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was kind of, I don't know. When did Asgard Box come out? Alex, that's your Dustin Hoffman cue. Let's go.
I believe it came out August 8th because it was the day before Show Me Showdown. No, excuse me, that's August 2nd because Show Me Showdown was August 3rd.
Okay, August 2nd. So August, September, what is that? Less than 2 months. And
Yeah,
they were already like, they already stuck their dick in Hero Thor.
Yeah.
It took them
Hey,
6 months for
listen.
CGR, but they're like, fuck you, Hero Thor. Get back on the couch, bitch.
No. What they're doing is they're doing a slight nerf to Beta Ray Bill. It ain't got nothing to do with the Thors.
See, that's kind of
He's
what I
been
was
running amok.
when I saw that too. My first thought was it was a Bill nerf, but I think JP, actually think you're right. I think it's probably more a Hero Thor nerf than a Bill nerf. Although Bill's kind of collateral damage on it.
Yeah, I mean the big thing was getting Thor to activate top around 2 and just take
Right.
somebody out. Like, and on a say like if you land on Researcher with it, it's just really, I don't want to say oppressive, but it's strong. It's a good 15. I don't know like where they were getting feedback from, but they definitely took action against Asgard. I mean, obviously the Brothers in Arms was just a target.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, it's an Asgard card, and I think Asgard kind of tipped. They were like they were the straw that broke the camel's back on Researcher, I'd guess.
Right. So let's talk about that, because I mean I feel like we're burying the lead a little bit. That the making a crisis card restricted feels like it's the kind of the elephant in the room. Now, this isn't the first time that a crisis card has been restricted. Is that right?
There was one other one, Civilians, whatever it was.
No,
Now,
they just
evac
banned that
was
one.
banned.
It
It
was
was
Wakanda Nerves.
Wakanda Nerves.
Oh yeah, you're right. My memory's faulty.
Okay. So they restricted Wakanda Nerms, but that was getting restricted not necessarily because everybody was just playing it, but because Wakanda Nerves was just a jank factory where every time something new came out, the first thing that Discord lit up with was, well, how can I fuck with this on herbs?
It's that burning bag of poop again.
And I mean, Researcher feels like it's different. I mean, I'm sick of it, and I think everybody there's an element at which it just feels. Well, again, I'll hold off on my thoughts on Researcher. Alex, what were your thoughts when the new banned and restricted list came out?
My first thought was, what's Brothers in Arms do? So I had to look it up. I didn't remember. Second thought, how in the hell did Fallback not get hit back during Mini Extravaganza?
Yeah.
And then my third thought was, well, damn, my Spider Foes have to find something to replace Research with.
David, what do you think? So after seeing this, and we've really only had about 48, 72 hours to sort of process it, but what do you think the upshot of, how do you think this will change how people look at things? I mean, Ben emailed us a day ago and it's already changed his roster. So what are your thoughts in terms of how the game's going to look different after this change?
Well, I mean, it definitely gives Webs a shot in the arm. Not that they needed it, right? Like, because Webs is one of the only affiliations that I would say you would actively go out of your way to avoid playing Researcher, to the point where, oh, I'm taking my extracts with Prio if they have Researcher, no matter what they do. So I think the fact that there's just going to be less teams running Researcher, that it'll give webs just an advantage, I think, that they probably didn't need.
So if you're like a mid lane team, if you're sort of like a researcher was sort of your last card in, what do you think? Either you're a midline team that can do aggro, and you thought that um, researcher was a counter to webs, or you just kind of had it in your roster, and now it's restricted. What do you think? What do you think replaces it? Like if you're that team, and the increased cost is saying, okay, I'm not doing researcher anymore. What do you think? What's the next option? What do you think?
I mean, teams are probably going to play more. I would guess Montesi would be the thing that starts cropping up a little bit more
Yep, that's
because
exactly what I was going to say. Because
teams
webs
that are
don't like.
running that are wanting to run research are probably already running virus, and like
So
I
just
mean, it's like virus and ships and Montesi and maybe hammers. Like I
I
think
totally
that's
agree
the
on
route
that.
the
Yeah.
fighting teams are going to go.
so
Yeah.
just some kind of an extract to slow the game down.
Yeah, you can't let the teams that have like extract shenanigans just take all the extracts and run away, right?
Right.
I would
Billy's
also add
grandpa.
that
Oh,
I would also add that Hellfire was happy
yeah.
to see Researcher gone as well.
Yeah.
Just because it's a lot harder to trigger Hellfire leadership when there's no extracts. Or I
Yeah.
should say one extract, but
Yeah, and Hellfire's in a weird spot because my Hellfire Club just recently got restricted, and now Researcher got restricted. So, I mean, all of a sudden that really kind of becomes poison if Emma's given any thoughts for wanting to run Researcher.
I don't think Emma runs Researcher. She's
Yeah,
wanting
she
to.
definitely doesn't. She probably
They
runs
they
at
don't want to
least the
see Researcher.
fives, like the 2 5s and probably maybe
So,
senators, maybe. I don't know.
right. So Hellfire's kind of become
Scrolls
sort of a
fine.
kind of become a scory team, but if there was ever kind of a concept of building up sort of a murder Hellfire, this just made it harder to do.
Oh, I suppose. I don't know. I still think like to trigger the leadership. I think you want guys holding extracts. Like contesting
Yeah.
this researchers fine, I guess. And there are 2 back points too, but there's no really good reason to be on one of the evacuation points. If,
Right.
like there's no.
Unless you're playing Hellfire and you're getting your leadership benefit from it.
But even then, as Hellfire,
Right.
unless they're like super long range and they're
Right.
nuking the mid somehow, but maybe Emma would hang out back there.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna vent for 30 to 60 seconds about this. I understand why they're doing this, and I think it's probably a good thing just because researcher is weirdly distorting things. But I don't understand why you're restricting researcher instead of fixing researcher. At the end of the day, the way it plays, researcher isn't an extract, it's a secure. And so when researcher comes out, you're playing 2 secures, and that fundamentally alters the way the game plays. I think they'd be much better served making researcher a secure and then changing some of the dynamics. Okay, tell me why I'm wrong.
I
I'm
don't
very
think you're
biased. I
wrong.
like researcher.
Yeah, I like researcher too.
I like it too, but I don't. I also don't think you're wrong. Because you're right. It plays as a secure, but is an extract.
Right. Right.
If the
And
game was more fair, I would say, hey, researchers should probably go. But the game's not very fair.
well, but that's the goal, right? I mean,
To make the game fair?
well, right. And I think I mean, to AMG's credit, I think that's their goal, is to try to make the game as fair as possible. And you've just got this weirdo outlier where you have an extract that's not an extract that plays like a secure, which means that in a game where you have research, you have two secures, which distorts the game dramatically because you're going to play it with your two secures and no extracts. It's just, I mean, I just think it was. I understand what they were doing with it, and I'm all for taking shots in terms of game design, but I think they need to own up on this. I would not want to see researcher go away, but researcher plays like a secure, so make it a secure.
Well, I think you kind of have to look at like the teams that it hurts. Like, I think it. So I think it hurts like Shield. I think Shield gets kind of weird because Shield wants to run sacrifice. They probably want to run fallback. They probably want to run brace, and they probably want to run researcher. So now there's
Now that's a
like
problem.
I don't know what Shield does right now. I mean, maybe they run researcher just because they're so good at it.
Look, Shield, we
But-
got enough
Finally-
Texas cards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Shield finally gets to understand what it's like. Oh man, I have to figure out what restricted cards to take.
And I think, I mean, it probably hurts the tall attrition, I guess. Because, I mean, CGR, Hulk, and Star-Lord is still pretty good on research. Like,
I feel like any team that's running Immortal Hulk probably it's a little bit of a challenge because you're obviously going to want to have patch up, and then you're really just kind of locked in on that.
Yeah, patch up's definitely like it's a conundrum card in certain matches for sure.
Oh yeah.
well, and the
A lot of
Kaiju
the
teams
times-
also liked fallback a lot, too.
100%.
A lot of the times you'd end up actually using patch up to reset Hulk's immortality token, but it would come up, and it's more significant when you have an equal number of characters as your opponent.
Well, and you're also when you've got it, you make your opponent's playing around it. So even if that's not your play, your opponent's
Yeah.
playing it anyway.
Just the fact that it's an option
Exactly.
makes it really not enticing to try to kill Immortal Hulk.
Yep.
Because he is, in fact, immortal.
Jerk. Okay, so any other thoughts on the changes in the banned and restricted list? I mean, I will be interested to see in the next few months sort of how this plays out. But kind of any other thoughts in terms of right now, in terms of like, are you with the rosters that either you're playing now or that you're thinking about that you're going to play once we're sort of done with our draft league? Has what AMG has done with the BNR changed your thoughts or list building strategies?
We did
Yeah,
also forget to
100%.
mention that they brought back Warpath.
Wait,
I
what?
whipped my ass with that card!
Hey, no, don't knock Warpath. I love that card. I was so sad to see it go away for literally no reason.
What? So lay out what exactly happened, David?
They put Warpath back into the rotation, so they
So they-
added a card back.
So they unrotated it.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of happy as that. It was as a Sentinels player, I actually really liked Warpath, so I used that on more than one occasion. So that was nice. So that's an interesting decision. What do you think was the rationale behind that?
Maybe they just realized that Warpath wasn't worth having banned.
Well, I mean, JP said it in our group chat. It didn't get played very often, so there's no reason for it to disappear based on how often it got played. And
That's
frankly, it's not that powerful of a card. It's a nice card, but it's not, mission objective
yeah,
same level powerful.
it's aggressive on demand.
Right. I just think they honestly forgot what the card was and accidentally put it on the rotation.
How did that happen?
They can rotate that
Very
card right up
possible.
their asses.
I kind of like this new member of the cast. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so thank you. I entirely missed that, so I'm happy to hear that. Any other thoughts on the changes on the banned and restricted? There's some forum stuff that we want to talk about too before we get into the monsters. But on the BNR, any other thoughts that we want to talk about?
I'll just say for myself, it doesn't affect any of my future lists. Because Apocalypse, I had fallback in my 10, but never used it with anticipation that fallback was going to get restricted. And
Yeah.
Researcher wasn't in my list because I don't want to have that awkward situation where 215 threat crises come up and I can't play with 4 horsemen if I wanted to.
Yeah, that's 15 something. Definitely Apocalypse is not happy to see. Okay, so we also had a forum ruling. David, do you want to summarize what the ruling was and maybe kind of your thoughts in terms of what its effect will be?
So they ruled that the horseman cards on the characters that get assigned horseman cards with Apocalypse leadership, they ruled it that when they are KO'd or removed, the horseman card still exists, so Apocalypse can still use the superpower on it. So, like, if you kill Death, Apocalypse can still use the Death superpower,
Right.
which is
So
really good.
yeah, it makes a big difference. So so just a real brief summary to catch up. Um with Apocalypse has his 4 horsemen, and each of them have a different superpower that gets assigned to a different character. The forum ruling says that even if the character, so like say Wolverine's War and Wolverine gets KO'd, Apocalypse can still use War's superpower because Apocalypse can use his horseman's superpowers as well as his own. So Apocalypse can still use War's superpower even though his War has been taken off the battlefield. Am I getting that right?
Yes.
Okay. Um, JP, were you surprised that was the ruling?
Oh. I was happy that was the ruling because if that wasn't the ruling, I think Apocalypse would be. I don't want to say dog shit because I haven't played a single game with him, so I don't really know. I played against him a couple times with Alex, but it's definitely a lot worse when you can just kill a character and take away Apocalypse's superpower.
Yeah.
Right. Particularly
Especially when they're bringing like a cheap, like say
right.
Toad is your
Yeah.
like pestilence
Yeah.
or something.
Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking. Alex, you're our Apocalypse guy. Tell me, what do you think about this decision? How does this affect your best friend in the whole wide world, and how are you looking at playing him going forward?
Um, I'm with JP. I'm happy they ruled it the way they ruled it. But I'm a little surprised that it was ruled that way. Frankly, because half of AMG's decisions are the opposite of what you would expect. But rules as written and the English language, technically, if you go by that wording, it it was a forum question because it was a good question, but as written, it technically should have stayed on the character or at least stayed and played because it's assigned and it's not actually part of the character itself,
Well,
like with the
and
card.
Apocalypse's actual horseman card says it gets removed when he gets removed. So
Right,
because none of the horsemen say that, that's where the ruling comes from.
right.
Okay.
I think it just makes Apocalypse better, or at least
Yeah, I think it's really
same
good for him.
level. And that also means I don't have to necessarily baby Famine as much, because
So
then he'll still have his place.
You can also, and it means that you can also like just like throw your death at somebody and just go, well, they're gonna die. Cool, I'm gonna get some Evo tokens, and I'm still gonna get to use death if I need to.
Exactly.
Alex,
Yeah. Now we just. Oh, go ahead, Patrick. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying you've been playing quite a bit of Apocalypse sort of before this came out. Were you playing this under the assumption that this was going to be the rule or not?
I've asked my opponent every game I played if we were going to play it one way or the other, and all of my opponents have said that they would, based on wording, it would stay in play even if they got KO'd. So
So you didn't
it's not much of a change for me.
Okay, so you didn't play any games with it going the other way if the forum ruling would have gone the other way.
No, but to be
Okay.
100% honest, the only one I would really worry about again would be Famine, because usually the only one that ends up getting KO'd is Death, and I just forget it exists.
Okay. Okay. Any other thoughts on the forum ruling, or is there anything else that I missed talking about before we move on?
I do agree with Alex on the famine part, because if it worked the other way, your opponent could just kill your famine, and then APOC has no action economy.
Right.
So like, that's like huge.
So for lack of a better term, it's either a maintaining of a status quo of Apocalypse is a really good model, or making sure that he stays that way, as opposed to really having an Achilles heel.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm filling in for David.
Okay. Okay. Are there any other rule changes or forum rules or anything else that we need to go over before we can start to unleash the monsters?
I did want to say one thing,
Yeah.
David. No, we've got another forum ruling that we did want to talk about a little bit, but when it comes to Apocalypse, we still need two answers, and I'm surprised it hasn't been asked yet. But how Evo tokens work when it comes to power, and can they be mixed? From our
Okay.
Apocalypse episode we were talking about.
Yep.
But then David brought up a good point with one of the conditions that are coming up more often. How do evolution tokens work with root? Do you have to have the power first before you can use the evolution tokens for the horseman powers or not?
Okay. David, why don't you walk through that question? Because I know we were kind of talking about it too, but why don't you walk through what the issue is and what we're still waiting for a decision on?
So with root, right? So root says before you use the superpower, you have to spend a power, and it essentially unlocks the ability to use the superpower.
Right.
But because Apocalypse can spend Evo tokens as if they were power, there's the question of, can he spend the Evo tokens uh to pay for the root so that they can use the superpower? Or do you have to have a power to spend to pay for the root before you can actually use the superpower? The only reason why that really matters is because, say you have 2 power, right? And say you have 1 Evo token. So, or no, wait. I guess it wouldn't matter that way. I guess it matters if you have like, if you only have 1 power, but you have 2 Evo tokens, right? So like, you have to be able to know if you spend the power or spend the other Evo tokens, or if you just have 1 and 1, I guess.
Yeah,
So
as long as the number's two or less, because if it's a situation where he has zero power, would he even be able to use the horseman power with evolution tokens?
No.
so So here's the language on the card. Master the Horseman is what we're talking about. An allied character assigned a Horseman card, so that could be Apocalypse or any of the Horsemen, may spend evolution tokens on this card as if they were power on its stat card to pay the power cost of superpowers on Horseman cards. So the question is, how does that interact with Root?
Is it a question? I don't know.
I mean, I'm pretty sure the answer is going to be you need to have power because
I kind of agree, because the language from Root is the character must spend 1 power before using an active or reactive superpower. So Root, you're not paying for the superpower. You're paying from your power bank to be able to use the superpower.
Agreed. I think that's the way it should be, and the way I think it'll be ruled.
Back in my day, we had to pay 2 power.
5 bees for $1. Sorry, we're mixing characters here.
Water taffy.
So is it fair to say, you guys, that you are anticipating the ruling to be that if Apocalypse is rooted, which means he's on his healthy side, because on his injured side it won't matter, but if Apocalypse is rooted on his healthy side, he, or I guess any of the other horsemen, yeah, if they're rooted, they will have to pay a power, not an evolution token, before they can use an evolution token towards the superpowers.
Yes, that's what I'm anticipating.
Yeah. I think I don't see there's any way to read the rule other than that, but I have been surprised before.
They did rule on Red Skull 3, which was not expected. The way they ruled Red Skull 3 was just like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Which is why I'm caveating,
because Root doesn't affect if you spend off 2 characters with Red Skull 3, right? Yeah. Like if both 2 characters are rooted, you don't have to spend 2 power, right?
Right. I think that's right anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Because Red Skull would be the only one.
I think it's
really
only if Red Skull's rooted, he has to spend the power.
Right.
I was just saying that the way Red Skull's card read and the way they ruled it was just, there was just such a disconnect. It was so unintuitive.
Yeah, it is really unintuitive.
Like you need 4 power to use his spender.
Yeah, you have to have the power first.
You have to have the power.
Yes.
That's like, I understand that's like a rules lawyery thing, but it's so unintuitive looking at his card. And then they ruled it that he has to spend power in combination with the other character, or is it? I can't even remember.
He still has to spend the power
right?
too.
Yeah,
he still has to spend at least 1.
Yeah, I think that is. Yeah, I think that's I just think it's a pretty, put at its most generous, I think it's a pretty tortured ruling of the rules. So I am hopeful that they don't engage in that with regards to the particular question about Apocalypse.
Well, Red Skull 3 is a 3-layer kick too, because you had the leadership on top of that they ruled that you had to use it before you even see the defense roll, and it's just like, I mean, it's whatever, but my God, I'm reading the card
just slows
initially
down the game.
Well, that too, you're putting in this weird like stopgap thing where like you have to be cognizant of the fucking like the step of each roll.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I will say it's been difficult playing that leadership during the draft league. Not because it's a hard leadership to play, but it's like, oh, I gotta remember, like, I'll let my opponent roll their dice, but I don't want to hear what their totals were.
Yeah.
And it's just hard to remember that.
It's super unintuitive. It just very much feels like they released their new core box and then are working really hard to make sure that nobody ever plays any of the characters in their new core box.
Yeah.
Well, that we had to wait. How long did we have to wait for that ruling on Red Skull? It was
Couple of
like
months. It was a while.
it was
It
it released in
was.
October.
Yeah, it was
Came out in
released in
October, right?
October of last year. So
I don't think.
October, November, December, January, February, March. We
Oh
didn't
my
get a
god.
ruling until April, so it's about 7 months.
Oh my god, was it
Wow.
that long? Jeez.
Yeah, because they didn't even give a ruling during Big Beef, and Big Beef
Oh,
was
that's
in March.
right. That's right. I forgot about that. So- Okay. Um any other kind of rule changes, either stuff that is coming for Apocalypse that we need to worry about or be looking for, or thoughts about the stuff that has come down?
No, I think just as soon as we get some sort of answer on the evolution tokens, I think he's fine at that
Yeah.
point.
And we'll be all over that. We'll be casting about it, and if you're following us on the socials at Witty Bantercast Witty Bantercast, we'll be on it too. David, I didn't interrupt you. I'm sorry.
The other thing was that Namor's ability ignores survival, so that's like a big thing for
So
people to remember.
okay, so just briefly remind people who are driving in the car and don't have their stuff in front of them what survival does.
So survival is you pay it, I believe, in the power phase,
I think that
and you pay the character that you want to target's threat. So if they're 3 threat, you pay 3, and then that particular model it drops all objectives, and it can't use reactive superpowers or tactics cards, and um and they can't be damaged by enemy effects. Or I think it says prevents all damage from enemy effects, I believe is the actual wording.
so you pay the power cost equal to the character's threat value. The character that plays the card drops all objective tokens until the end of the first turn this round. That character cannot be damaged by any effects, use reactive superpowers, or use reactive team tactics cards.
And
Yeah,
they have
so
to they have to be
Namor's
injured as well.
Right.
Namor's
So
ability specifically says
yep,
that you can't prevent his damage, and so
yep,
that's what they're referencing there. So
yep.
basically, if you play survival, somebody can activate Namor and just kill your character.
Yep. Yeah, Namor's Atlantean might damage caused by this character's attack and effects cannot be reduced or prevented by superpowers or team tactics cards. So basically, they're saying that Namor's Atlantean might means that it turns off survival.
Yep.
Which would be obvious if they printed survival with text that was consistent with the rest of the game. Instead of saying that character cannot be damaged by enemy effects.
Yeah,
Right.
it is weird.
They could have just said prevent all damage from enemy effects, and then it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I get what they're trying to do to be as broad as possible, but yeah, it's good that I think that ruling's correct given the wording on the card. I can see why they felt like they needed to get it and have it done, because I mean, my God, Angel Day when Apocalypse came out was Friday, and we've got this ruling on what, Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah.
So they weren't kidding around.
Kudos to AMG on that one.
Yeah. I mean, they do seem to be. I mean, clear. Like same thing with Brothers in Arms. It's they clearly feel like they've seen an issue, and they feel like the time between seeing an issue and resolving it with some form of action seems to be going down, which I think I'm probably more likely than not to think that's a good idea.
I don't hate it because they're not actually, in most of these cases, they're not reprinting a card with different text. They're just addressing it in some other fashion, which is probably not the cleanest way to do it, putting stuff on the ban or on the restricted list, but it's something, I guess. It's better than nothing. And it's easy. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying it's probably the least intrusive way to do it.
Yeah. Well, going at that, it's like easy to reverse what they
Yeah.
did as well,
Yep.
because they don't have to reprint another card to
Exactly.
do something
Yep.
else or whatever.
Yep. In 6 different languages.
Mm.
Yep.
Hey, I've got a lot of uneven tables at my house.
I have a lot of French speaking friends who are really, really anxious to get into the game, and now it's super easy for them. Okay.
It's the Polish one. That's the demand.
It is. It's totally the Polish. It isn't. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with a weird piece of litigation in the EU. Not at all. Not even a little bit. Any other final thoughts on rule changes before we start to unleash the monsters?
None that I can think of.
Okay. So now, if we were like a super cool professional podcast, I would have like soundboard sounds of like a dungeon door creaking open or Vincent Price laughing, but we're not going to do anything. I've got JP. I mean, we've got JP, and that's basically the same thing. So if anybody here, feel free if throughout the rest of this episode, if you want to slip into a Vincent Price impression for the rest of the episode, I'm here for it.
That one's hard, man. I couldn't do that one.
It is kind of hard. It is kind of hard. I don't know that I can do that. I tend to think I'm good at impressions, but I'm not good at that one. So, and I'm not paying for the rights to anything from Thriller, so that's not happening. So, either way, the monsters are coming. And by the monsters, we mean the universal monsters, which means we have gotten spoiled now the entirety of the cards for Dracula, for Frankenstein's monster, for Werewolf by Knife, and Werewolf by Night. I think I said Werewolf by Knife, which is an entirely different character. And for Inkantu, the living mummy. So
I think you're convoluting your horror subgenres there.
I am. That's probably true. So let's start with the big bad himself, Vlad Dracula. We'll run through his stats real quick. He's 4 physical, 3 energy, 4 defense, 7 health, 5 threat, 3 size, and a medium move. He's got 2 physical attacks, a builder, range 2, size 7, damage equal to the power equal to damage dealt, ancestral blade, and then on a wild, he gets to hand out on a hit, he gets to hand out either bleed, slow, root, or hex, which isn't terrible. Then his spender, Blood Feast. After the attack is range 2, 6 strength, 1 power. After the attack is resolved, he gets to heal a damage for each damage dealt, and he gets to hand out bleed. So, initial thoughts on Dracula. David, I think you and I are the ones that are super jazzed about the monsters. So you've actually been playing Dracula.
I've been playing Dracula, yeah.
Yeah, so
So
tell me about your experiences with it.
I mean, his fucking builder's amazing. His builder's fantastic. Like, it's 7 dice, and the hit trigger with like bleed, slow, root, and hex. Oh, it's so stupid. Like, just like root and hex is like fantastic on a hit trigger. And like his mystic spender is really good if you can get somebody bleeding. I mean, it auto throws size 4 medium. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Um
So to be clear, you get on one hit, you get to hand out one of those conditions. On 7 dice, your odds of getting a hit are 90.09%. Which is
I don't think
really
I've
good.
failed to put a condition on somebody with it.
That's not terrible. So
No, it's really good.
okay.
I've noticed that a lot of people forget about his clapback, and I don't know how. Like, I mean, his ability to like hit you back is like just dumb. Like,
All right, so let me just blow through the rest of his card super quick. He's got a 4 power spender, Fury of the Vampire, which is Mystic, range 3, 8 dice. If the character has bleed, you can reroll any dice. Hello. And after the attack is resolved, no trigger, no nothing. If the target character is size 4 or less, you can be thrown away medium. He's got a bow, hypnotic stare. If he's within 3, you pay 2 power and you can advance him short. Eternal hunger. If the character pay 2, if the character's within 3, you can make an attack. So you got your clapback, and it's any attack. So you can do your 1 power 6 physical. You can do your 4 power 8 mystic. As long as you got the power involved, Dracula can make your life miserable. And then he's got his shape shifting, which we can talk about separately, which is a little weird. And then unholy vampiric immortality. At the end of his activation, he gains 1 power and removes 1 damage from himself for each other character within 3 that has the bleed special condition. So he's kind of Blade on steroids.
knew Vlad before he was a vampire. He was a nice boy.
That was a long time ago, Billy's grandpa. So David, tell me about your talk about your experiences playing him. So what's he been like on the table?
Man, that guy just like first of all, the bow on him is just like it's ridiculous because he can shapeshift and just like walk long up to something and then bow something and just hit it and just stand there and go, okay, now what do you do? Like he can put you into a spot where you're like not wanting to attack him, but then and if you do attack him, you get like hella punished for it. It's just like,
Yep.
it's really good.
So his shape shifting, you pay 1 and you get 3 choices. You can be a bat where you get flight for the rest of the move action. You can be a wolf where you get your speed is long, or you can be mist where you drop all objective tokens, remove all special conditions, and up to 2 damage from the character. So, and I mean, as far as I can tell, it's when you begin a move activation. So you can do it twice.
You could do it twice.
So how have you? So what's? I mean, obviously you haven't been playing with leadership, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But just what's Dracula been like for you on the table? He's got his clapback, he's got his bow, he's got his kind of shape shifting nonsense where he can move things around. It feels like there's a pretty big like tax to your opponent just to figure out like and try to remember what the hell he's gonna do.
Well, when I first looked at his card, I was like, oh, this guy has no action economy. Like, I don't know if he feels great. And then I started accepting the fact that maybe it's okay if his whatever his first action is, like maybe it's a shapeshifter to heal 2 damage and remove like, hey, maybe I'm slowed and shocked. So maybe I just miss, so I remove both of those and I get to move, and then I make 1 attack. And then he sits there with a bunch of power because he probably bleeds you. And I mean, like, you can easily go from like, oh, I've got 4 damage on me. Now I've removed 2 damage. I've punched you, put bleed on you. I probably already bleeded somebody else next to me. So now I've healed 4 damage and
Yep.
gained like 2 power at the end of the round. It's pretty good.
Yep. And it's gain a power and remove a damage from each character. So if there's 3 characters, you're getting 3 power and removing 3 damage.
And it applies to your own characters and if they're dazed.
I was just gonna say
So
that it's not just your opponent. So if your pals are bleeding too, you're still going ham.
yep.
Okay.
It makes his
Um,
power economy a lot more predictable because you can be like, okay, I know I'm probably going to bleed this character. Well, this character's already bleeding. If I move into range 3 of them, now I know I can remove 2 damage and gain 2 power at the end of the round.
Plus, you've got a builder which has a 90% chance of causing bleed, and then a 1 cost spender which guarantees
That
a
auto
bleed.
bleeds. Yeah. It's really good.
Okay.
And he like if he has a bunch of power and he can like hit you for 7 and make you bleed and then hit you with a spender with full rerolls, that's a lot of damage.
That's a dead She-Hulk.
It is a dead shield,
It's a
unfortunately
dead
for her.
shield. It's a dead shield. Um.
Stupid bitch.
So Alex, you're playing your new best friend Apocalypse loves him some special conditions and wants to have special conditions all over the place. Have you had a chance to play against Dracula, or what are your thoughts about seeing Dracula coming?
I have not played against Dracula yet. And this is gonna be a weird take with Dracula, just because
That's what we're
it's
here
just the
for.
vibe I get. I feel like he's kind of a mix of Forthreat Ultron and Blade. I don't know why I feel that. Maybe it's just because of the bow, but like he's also good at Mystic defense. He's got all the cool tricks that Blade has, but then like I don't know. I mean that in the good way though, not necessarily a
Yep.
bad way.
Sure.
It's just kind of the feel I get from him, and I like it. But I, to be 100% honest, am not excited for the monsters at all. But it's just because they just weren't my thing growing up.
Right.
It's not because I think they suck or anything. Just not my thing.
Well,
But Dracula. Oh, go ahead, Patrick.
no, I was just gonna say you're plenty busy with Apocalypse right now.
Yeah, I'm so yeah. But I'm excited to play Apocalypse against Dracula because yeah, go ahead and beat up Apocalypse so that way your more of your tricks go away on Apocalypse's injured side. And then, the fact that he's immune to bleed to begin with is super helpful. And now that Colossus is better card wise and with Pestilence, he's immune to bleed too. So just yes, please go and send them my way.
True. How about you, JP? What were your once you got a chance to sort of read Dracula's card in full? What are your thoughts?
You guys ready to derail again?
Let's go.
How many characters have a bow that also have action economy? Go.
I think technically none,
Thanos.
correct?
I was about to say, other than maybe Thanos, I think we're done.
Okay. Because we got like OG MODOK, we've got
Enchantress.
Sinister, Enchantress,
The Ultron.
Ultron, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
and they don't have action economy necessarily.
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about it in the cast with House Party when we were just hot taking all this stuff. I said that I was not happy that Drac didn't have action economy, but the bow is definitely a thing.
It's very good,
On the
yeah.
table, he feels pushed for a 5 threat to have a 7 dice attack that like triggers crazy conditions on a hit is just kind of dumb. And then like David
I
was
think
saying,
his builder is the best on a 5 threat in the
his
game.
spinner is absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
8 dice full rerolls with a medium throw. Is it omnidirectional, David? I can't remember.
It's away.
Away, okay.
But it is
But still-
auto. There's no triggers for that.
Yeah.
It just does it.
No damage.
That's
No
better than
required damage.
that's better than
no.
Hulk Smash.
Yeah, and it's size 4. So take a ride, Hulk.
Yeah. Like all his movement superpower options are really good. The super blade heal power thing at range 3 is really good. Like he's just a good character. He's what is he, David? 7? It's 444? Is he 444 or is he
He's 434.
What is he?
434, 14 health.
434, okay. Oh yeah, that makes sense because he's a little He doesn't like the sunlight.
Get some of those blackout curtains.
It's fire. Fire bad.
Kill it with fire.
No, we're coming to that one. We haven't gotten there. We haven't gotten that far yet.
No, he's good though. He definitely feels oh god. I'm gonna he feels a little power crept.
He does.
I could see that.
I also
So-
think that there's a lot to the fact that not a lot of people know what he all does.
Yeah.
So like knowing not to like I've had a couple games with him where my opponent just keeps going into Dracula and I just keep cracking him back and adding bleed and like I don't think that's the way you do it. I think you need to move Dracula away and try to hit him at range or just keep him away.
More control him.
The problem is he can activate heal, remove the conditions that you gave him, punch somebody,
Yeah.
heal again. Like if he's one of those models that if you don't kill him, he's gonna heal. He's gonna med pack.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
And he's got a long move in his back pocket.
I mean you can't stack him, so if you want to heal, you can't long move. But even he's a medium base with a medium move. Like he's respectably fast.
So.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're going to kind of cycle back to his leadership once we kind of get it through everything else. But any other thoughts on the character himself before we move on to his monster pals?
I mean, I think he's going to get played like I think he's going to end up in a lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of rosters who want what he brings.
If he's a Midnight Sun.
Yeah, he's going to be bananas if he's a Midnight Sun.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm going to probably play Midnight Suns again if he is.
Yeah. Him with Siege and Bats and like he just feels good.
It would be
feels real good. And the bump. The bump also feels really good on him too.
I mean, just from a lore standpoint, it would be super bizarre to have Dracula under the leadership of the Vampire Hunter Blade, but I get it.
I mean, no, because we've already got Magneto and Cabal listening to a damn Nazi. It makes no sense.
That's exactly where I was going with it, but I mean, we'll see. So, any other thoughts before we move on to the other monsters?
Not really.
Okay. So next is, we'll just kind of go in order in terms of when they were released. Next is Werewolf by Night, Jack Russell. So he's 4/4/2, 7 health, 5 threat, size 3, medium move. He's got 2 attacks, a savage / builder. It's a range 3, 6 strength, power kill damage dealt. If you do damage, you get bleed, and if you get a wild, you get a leap before damage is dealt. You place the character within one of the target character. His spender, lethal lycanthrope. Range 2, power, 7 dice, 3 power. After the attack is resolved, guaranteed, you throw the character away short. If you get a hit, again on 7 dice, after the attack is resolved, the character gains bleed and hex. He's got a pounce for 3 power. You throw the character short, doesn't suffer damage for collisions. For 2, he has Unearthly Howl, which is a little trippy. You choose an enemy character within 3, you roll 4 dice. The character loses power for each crit, wild, and hit result. Additionally, for each skull rolled, the chosen character gets either slow or root. The character can be only affected by this superpower once per turn, meaning you can use it more than once, just not on a particular character. He's got Midnight Massacre, 3 power. After an attack against the character is resolved, it may use a superpower. If the attacker is in 3, the character may make his builder, Savage Slash. Superpower can only be used once a turn, and he has Healing Factor 2. So, JP, what's kind of your first blush? He doesn't change any on his injured side. What's your first blush on what Jack Russell gives us?
Oh, so I think you have to compare him to Drac a little bit, right? They're both 5 threats.
Yep.
Both monsters. I don't like his builder nearly as much.
Range
3 is fine. It's got the compulsory wild place though.
Yeah, it's
just
true.
Like Beast. If it was optional, it would be so much better. It's just
that's a good point.
Like with
he
Beast,
feels like a big beast. That's what he feels like. He feels like Beast, like just amped up.
With Beast, it's like, okay, I can't afford to compulsory place if I roll a wild. So I'm just gonna play scenario or whatever with my 3 threat. Werewolf, I mean, the whole point of this model is just be attacking. So I don't know. I don't love his builder. I just don't. Like, it's 6 dice, it's fine, but he's a 5 threat. It should be 6 dice. Like there's 3 threats with 6 dice builders. Well, not builders, but well, I guess Ant-Man has one. Scourge has a gainer. But anyway, there's 3 threats with 6 dice.
Right.
It's not amazing. It's not Drax 7 with hit hex.
Right.
It's just dumb.
Yeah.
His spender is not. The auto throw is good. The auto throws are good. The Curse of the
Bleed and
Werewolf.
Hex is,
Curse of the Wolf's
Hex is
fine.
good.
Bleed
Yeah.
and hex on a hit, which is
I
about.
mean, it's fine.
It's fine. Like 3 power for a 7 dice range 2 physical spender is just not great in my eyes on a 5 threat. Just doesn't
No,
feel great.
there's 3 threat spenders that are better than that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Angel, right? He throws a size 3. Auto. It's not even contingent on I guess this one isn't either. So they both auto throw size 3. And Angel is actually range 3. And it's 7 dice and 3 power. So like it's comparable to a 3 threat. Like it's a good on Angel it's a really good spender because he's 3 threat obviously. On this I just feel like it's under curve and I don't like his attack suite. The pounce is fine. He's size 3. So the pounce is dealing 4 damage. It costs 3 though and it's short. It's not a hero Thor pounce.
Right.
At medium. It's fine. It's is he on a medium base? Werewolf?
He's on a medium. He's on a medium.
He has
base.
a medium base.
Yeah, the only monster that's on a small base is the mummy.
Mummy, yeah, okay. Unearthly Howl, it's cool. It's like Rogue's thing, but 1 less die. But you can hand out conditions.
Yeah, I mean you're
and also you don't deal damage if they lose more power than they have.
Right.
So I just feel like the other thing is he's a 5 threat that he only gains 1 power a round.
Right.
And he has a shitload of superpowers that are kind of expensive.
Yeah.
His clapback costs 3 for some reason. Why the fuck does his clapback cost 3?
I think if there's a criticism of Werewolf by Knife is I don't know how he gets. I don't know why I keep saying knife. I don't know where he gets his power.
Well,
yeah, I'm curious as to why his clapback is 3 as well, because everybody else is a 2.
Right.
Yeah, everybody else is 2. It is weird.
And maybe they thought because he's a 5 threat, it needs to be more expensive.
Well, making the comparison to Dracula again, he's got the clapback, and it's only 2 power.
And he can do any attack.
Yeah. Huh.
Healing factor's cool. Like I like healing factor, especially on a 7 health model. He's probably going to be able to use it more often than the 5 health model because he'll survive more attacks and be able to actually activate and heal. But Exceptional's gone, so that takes him down a notch.
Right.
Although
I think his howl is the best thing on his card. Like,
you think so?
Yeah, I think the howl is the best thing on his card. Being able to remove people's power and slower root them, it's pretty good. It's just weird because you only get it on the skull, so like maybe you don't slower root them, but
the dice pool
I wish it
lower.
was like Rogues and it did damage.
Yeah, I think the pounce is the best thing on his card personally, but
Pounce is good too. Pounce is good too.
Throwing size 3 every round is really good.
It is good.
So your chances.
I wish it was a medium pounce, obviously.
Yeah, that would be nice. Your chances of
But here we
rolling
are.
one skull on for 45%. So 2 skulls are probably maybe 1 in 5.
45% to roll 1 skull on 4 dice.
On 4 dice.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And you're gonna your odds of getting something beneficial are very high. I'm too tired to do the proper math, but something's good is gonna happen. So okay, so any other thoughts on? Before we go on, I want to go over his tactics card too. So any other thoughts about the character before we go over his tactics card, which is kind of banana pants?
I mean, I think he's just a middling 5 threat is really where I'm at with him. I think there might be teams that might want to use what he does, but I don't know.
I'll have to see him on the table. I don't know. I'm not impressed with the card.
Yeah. So his tactics card is Phases of the Moon. At the start of the activation phase, he can play the card. He can choose one of two effects, either New Moon. He has to spend 1 power before using his Midnight Massacre. If the character, while the character is defending, if he's holding or contesting an objective token, he can re-roll 1 die in his defense roll for every special condition the attacking character has. And then Full Moon, the character cannot interact with, contest, or hold extract objective tokens. While the character is attacking, it can re-roll 1 die in his attack roll for each special condition the character has. And then he gets that chosen effect for the remainder of the game. So you don't have to play it. You can, but once you pick it, you're stuck with it the rest of the way home. What do you think?
I mean, this card could be cool. I don't know. I like re-rolling defense dice, and I like re-rolling attack dice. I mean, those are good.
I'm with David on this one. I read that card like 6 times, and I'm like, well, it's fun. Is it good?
It is weird that they're leaning into the Midnight Massacre, which we just talked about how we thought was overcosted.
Is Midnight Massacre his clapback?
His Midnight Massacre is his clapback.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so it costs 4.
I think that's the only thing that makes it just weird.
I would agree. I agree.
It's like, wait, what? He has to spend it when he uses the power?
Yep. So
it's like he's rooted when he has Midnight, or he's rooted when he wants to use Midnight Massacre, basically.
Right. So if it's a new moon, he's got to spend 4. He's got to right. He's rooted, but then while the character is defending, if it's holding or contesting an objective token, it can re-roll 1 die for each special condition the attacking character has. So yeah, that feels like super Rube Goldberg-y, because you have to be figuring out who's attacking you, and you have to make sure they've got a bunch of special conditions on them, which, I mean, they can hand out, but it's just, yeah, I'm not entirely convinced I'm smart enough to be able to play this card.
The timing's just weird. And
it is. Well,
and the conditions are weird. Like, I would like the attack dice one, but he can't hold or contest objectives anymore.
And you have to do it for the rest of the game.
It's only extracts. It's only extracts, but
he could still contest secures?
Yeah.
Yes. So it doesn't change anything with regards to secures.
Oh, okay, I see.
So he can park on a gamma and howl all he wants. He just can't hold a senator.
I mean, it costs 0 to play the card, which is good.
Right. Although it does increase your cost for Midnight Massacre if you're doing it that way.
True.
But who's using that anyway? It costs 3.
That's kind of where I'm going with it. That's kind of where I'm going with it. So, okay. So, any other thoughts on Mr. Jack Russell before we move on to some of his pals? All right, then let us move on to Adam, otherwise known as Frankenstein's monster, who is known for short on the card as Frank, which is super confusing. He's 4/3/3. He's on a medium base, 7 health, 4 threat, size 3, medium move. He's got 3 attacks. First is Gainer, Frank's Fists. range 2, strength 6. You get a power, and if you get a wild and a hit, if the character is size 4 or less, you can push the character short. No restriction in terms of which direction. Second one is Thick Skull. It's range 2, strength 5, cost 1. After the attack is resolved, if damage was dealt, the target character gains stagger. Third is his Spender, Monstrous Fury, range 2, strength 6, power 4. Add dice to the attack roll equal to the amount of damage the character has. So if he's got 6 damage on him, you get to add 6 dice. On a crit and a wild, you get Hurl. After the attack is resolved, if the character is size 4 or less, throw the target character medium. 2 power for a charge, move followed by an attack. 3 for Frank's Rampage. Choose an terrain feature of size 4 within 2, throw it medium. And then replacement parts. Pay 2, you can remove 2 damage from the character. Superpower can only be used once per turn. He is immune to shock because of course he is. We've all seen the movie. Alex, what's your first thoughts when you see Adam/Frank?
He seems fun. I just like Werewolf. Where's he getting his power other than getting punched in the face?
Yeah, that's my problem with him. He's not going to have the power to do the things that he wants to do.
Right.
But
I don't know,
I
man.
mean, I like his gainer. I like the omnidirectional push. I think his Spender's pretty good, but like, he's just never going to have power to do all this stuff. Because like,
pay
assuming
one-
he's charging,
Right.
if he charges and he attacks twice, he gets refunded back his power that he spent to charge, and he still can't do anything else but heal. Like, he can't throw anything.
Right. I mean, he's paying 1, and if he does the damage, he hands out a stagger. That seems good.
It's 5 dice.
It is 5 dice.
5 dice is
that is
so
true.
iffy.
Yeah.
At dealing damage.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah,
and it already costs a power. I don't know.
Yeah, JP, what do you think?
I'm crying in Black Cat right now. Yeah, I mean, he's got Scourge's sort of gainer attack for 6 dice. It's better, but it's like the 6 dice pool is nice, but only gaining 1 per attack kind of sucks. And
Kind of does.
5 dice physical.
And that's his only way to build its power. Is just
it's just like, I don't know. The Thick Skulls, like, I could see maybe like Hail Mary. Oh shit, they got like something big and scary. Like, I'd like to stagger that. Let's try
Hot take here. Hot take when I look at Frank, and then I look at Shang-Chi, and people say Shang-Chi's not busted. I just cry.
Yeah, I mean, Shang-Chi is fundamentally better than this guy.
Yeah, I think so.
He's
a medium base, medium move. So, if somebody's attacking him, I think he's pretty hard to make go away. I just kind of think with this guy, it's like, why would you ever attack him?
I don't know. I mean, he's really the only thing he's got going for him on the defensive side is his health pool, and I guess his ability to heal. But that's like, I mean, I don't know why it costs 2 to heal 2 when you got so many other characters who can like spend 2 to heal 3.
Right.
Or like Wong, who's 2 to heal, or is 1 to heal 2.
Right.
So it's kind of bipolar, right? You're like, I want him to take damage so that I
Yep.
can use his abilities, but his abilities cost power to heal the damage in an equal ratio. So what's he? I don't know.
So you're kind of treading water.
Yeah, like you're just. I don't know. I guess it depends. Like his throw's really good.
Yeah.
It's really good.
I think
Size 4
I mean
medium.
charge is good on him.
Charge is
Like
good.
I think he's
mean-
got good stuff. He's just never gonna have power to do it.
I think he needed a builder.
Yeah, he did.
He needed Frank's Fist to be a builder.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's not a builder, because then
Yep.
cough cough Shang-Chi again, 6-die builder that picks between mystic or physical. There's
Yeah.
no reason Frank should have been a gainer.
I don't look at this card and be like, and think this would be busted with a builder.
No, I don't think so either.
His spender, he's got a little over a 30% chance to trigger his throw.
Well, I mean that
on-
also depends on his how many dice he's rolling, right?
Yeah.
I suppose that's true. That's true. The
I mean,
more
if he has
damage
any
you got,
damage on him,
that's fair. That's true.
that spender could get stupid, right?
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You bump that up even to 9 dice, all of a sudden it's 50%, and 10 dice is then you really do start to get silly. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't know about
Well,
silly.
and I mean, and it throws medium any direction, size 4. Like that's
Yep.
good.
You got to
Like,
talk
I
to my
just-
beta ray. You got to talk to my beta ray Bill about his spender
Yeah.
before you can use the word silly. I don't know if I've ever gotten that trigger.
On Beta Ray Bills,
Yeah.
even with Sentinels.
Yeah, I was about to say, just play me in Sentinels. You'll get the trigger every fucking time.
Maybe, but I'm really bad at getting the trigger. I'm just bad at rolling dice. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you on that one. So. Okay, so he's got a tactics card. It's Hideous Monster. It's unaffiliated reactive. When an enemy character targets another allied character within 3 of Frankenstein's monster, he can play 2 to play the card. He places within 1 of the allied character, it becomes the target of the attack regardless of range and line of sight. If after the attack is resolved, if he's not dazed or KO'd, you roll dice equal to the number of damage he has, which I'm assuming means Frankenstein's monster. The enemy character suffers 1 damage for each crit and wild rolled. If the enemy character suffers damage in this way, push it short towards Frankenstein's monster.
Don't assume my pronouns.
I mean,
So
I like the card, but again, he's never gonna have power to use it.
right,
Like he
That's-
has to spend power to play it.
that's the challenge.
Well, interestingly, he can't use it when he's attacked, which I think is the first iteration of this type of card,
Yes.
right? Can Namor
Yes.
use his card on himself?
Namor can use this card on himself.
I'm trying to think of what Namor even does.
Yeah, I'd have to look.
I guess Venom can't use his card on himself.
He
though.
can. Venom can.
Can he?
Yeah.
I thought it says other.
No. Let me look. Now you got me. I think I'm right, but I think this is the first time that this is.
Allied character. Enemy
Oh, so
character.
Venom
targets
can
an allied
use this?
character.
Yeah.
He can.
Okay.
Yep.
Which is it's not nothing because it gets him in for this clapback if he's outside range
Right.
3.
Yeah.
Well, and it just places Venom, which that fixes his movement problem, which is a big Venom problem.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's derail this. Let's look at Prince's Protection. When an enemy character within 3 of Namor targets an allied. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh, so they have to be within 3 of Namor.
yeah.
So it's like a weird.
It's a weird.
It's
hero.
like a taunty. It's like a
Yep.
taunty reactive instead of a bodyguardy reactive.
Yep.
Okay. Targets an allied character with an attack. He can spend 2. So obviously
Right.
he can do it.
Yeah.
To himself.
Whereas
Um,
Hideous Monster is more of a bodyguard. And
Push
it's
all
within
enemy characters. Okay.
and it's within 3.
Yeah, I think they're all within 3.
Are they?
Yeah, I,
I
believe
think
they
all
are.
these cards are. I think there's 5 of them, right? At this point,
Comrades,
you got
Yeah.
heroes.
Heroes for Hire, Red Guardians, Namors, Venoms, and this one.
And so,
think that's it.
yeah. And then Namor, Venom, and Frank are the ones on medium bases.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another power tax for Frank. Poor Frank that's
Right.
gainering and healing his damage for two.
Yeah.
Like, if he was if it was somebody else could pay two, like heroes, I think this would be a good card.
Yes.
Yeah, I just don't understand this card. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sorry, Frank's
Well-
card, not the tax
Yeah.
card. But
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
my other problem with that tactics card too is like you're incentivized to have damage on Frank, but you don't want him to die.
right.
Because like
I-
if you use this card and Frank only takes 2 damage and he's full health, you're probably like not doing any damage to your opponent. So you kind of want to figure out a way to use it when you have damage on you, but not get killed.
Yeah, it's
I
a
don't
little
know.
It's a little Goldilocks.
I mean, even if he has damage though, it's a crit wild. Like, how many times have you counterstruck and like did 0?
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I mean, that's a 4 dice
I
pool.
mean, the dream scenario is he ends up alive on 1.
Right.
Is that a dream scenario though? Then you have Frank
I
alive
don't
on
know
the
if
1.
it's. I mean, that's
Feels
like the
bad
best
still.
case for the card, at least.
For the card, for sure.
And it's his,
It's-
and it's the best pace for his spender too, if he's got the power for it.
Yeah. The thing is
Mm.
it's weird because you could be like, well, I want to use this card to put damage on Frank so that I can get power, but the card costs 2 power to use.
Right.
You might actually net negative power
Right.
if you don't take damage.
Right.
That's always a great fucking feeling, isn't it? When you use a tactics card, one of these tactics cards, to try to protect a pivotal piece, and then your opponent just blanks out on the roll.
Yep.
Feels so good.
That's the big brain moment we're all loving. Okay. Any other thoughts on Frankenstein's monster before we move on to kind of the last of the monsters that are in the process of being unleashed?
Look that fat head.
So our last unleashed monster is Encantu the Living Mummy. He's 4/4, 5 health, 3 threat, size 2, medium move. He's got 1 builder, Swirly Strike. We're gonna go with that. Range 2, 5 strength, power cool damage dealt. On a wild, if the character is 3 or less, you push away short. On a wild hit, you get Mummy's Curse and the character gets hexed. His spender is Sever Soul, range 4, 6 dice, 2 power, Mystic. If the attack is resolved after damage was dealt, this character gets a captured soul token. We'll talk about that in a second. Living Death, the character no power. The character may spend any number of captured souls tokens on itself. May spend a number of captured soul tokens. For each token spent, the character may remove 1 special condition, remove 1 power, or remove 1 damage, or gain 1 power. Undead Empowerment. When the attacker is attacking at the end of the modified dice step, can use the power, spend 1 or more captured souls token. For each token spent, can count 1 skull as a wild for the remainder of the attack. Alchemical Curse of Nephris. When the character would suffer damage, reduced by 1 to a minimum of 1. Anubis' Soul Harvester. When another character is dazed or KO'd, this character gets a captured soul token. The character may have a maximum of 3 tokens at the same time. He's immune to bleed, hex, and poison, and does not change on his backside. David, what do we think of our size 3 small base monster?
I think so his mechanics are kind of cool. I kind of like what he's doing.
Feels like sort of a like a hella Mr. Sinister love child, as disturbing a thought as that is.
Yeah, I mean,
Why do you say Mr. Sinister?
Well, because he can
Just the
I mean,
token
with
kind of stuff, or
the token kind of stuff where
oh,
he
I
can
see what you're saying. Remove damage or
yeah, he
whatever.
can
Yeah,
kinda
yeah,
use them to keep himself alive.
yeah. I see that. I've been kind of thinking he's like a little bit of Iron Man.
He is.
How
I think he does. I think he has a little bit of Iron Man too. I like his. I like his DR.
yeah,
Immunity, bleed, hex, and poison is pretty good.
yeah. Yeah, that's the best I think that's the best immunity list of the 4 of them.
And I like that he can remove like things like stagger
Right,
with soul tokens, which is cool. And it doesn't actually cost him anything.
right.
Um, I like that he can make a Skull of Wild. I think that's cool too. Like I think he's cool.
Well, and particularly given how with his builder, he can that gets him to his push and maybe to his hex. And then we'll talk about his tactics card in a second, but that becomes relevant for his tactics card too.
Like I mean, a 3 threat with DR is good.
Right.
Like
Right.
I mean,
Right. The scary part is 2 energy defense, 5 health.
yeah, and he doesn't have any action economy, right? So like
Right.
he's in the same realm as like Drax, right?
Right. Except well, yes, except he doesn't other than his spender, what does he spend power on?
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know either.
His spender's 2 power and everything else he's just rolling with his captured soul tokens.
He spends power on that sweet tactics card he's got.
We are going to get to I do want to get to the tactics card. We probably that's kind of baked in the cake. So let's just go over service to Anubis is his tactics card, which is basically he can pay 2 to play the card. He gets an attack. He gets a mystic attack called Soul Storm. It's an area effect attack, area equal to the number of captured soul tokens the character has. He gets to add dice to his attack roll for the amount of power he plays to spend the card. So there's where you're spending your power. After all the attacks are resolved, he loses all his captured soul tokens. And then on a wild hit, he gets Mummy's Curse. And after each attack is resolved, the target character gains Hex. So theoretically, he could have a Area 3, 8 dice attack. Mystic. Which is and then handing out Hex, which seems not terrible.
Well, and you're gonna want to spend those tokens on the attack because you're gonna lose them at the end of the attack. So
Right.
you're probably gonna be changing some skulls in that attack roll,
Right.
or in whichever how many ever attack rolls you make.
Right. Right. So I guess so you could do an area attack to save one of your captured soul tokens to change a skull into a wild. If you want if you
No,
wanted to
I think you can. You don't actually. Hold on. Let me read the card again.
Oh no, you
What's it
don't. No,
called?
you don't. No, you lose them all. So yeah, actually you could spend
Yeah,
the cap
you don't actually
Yep,
spend them to play the card. You just lose them
that's
at the
right.
end of the
Yep,
thing. So if
that's right.
you're just
So
gonna
you
want to
could
spend them, like if
yep,
you get a skull in your roll, you're just gonna want to use it because you're gonna lose them
you're
anyway.
flipping it. Yep, you're flipping it to a wild. So that really gives you some dice consistency on what could otherwise be a pretty bonkers roll.
Well, and I just realized that his superpower doesn't say one; it says for each. So you could
Yep,
spend 3 and change 3 skulls in one
that's
attack
right.
roll.
Yep. Yep. So you're getting not only are you getting a lot more damage consistency, but you're also really increasing your odds of handing out hex to everybody.
Yeah, I like this guy. I think he's decent.
Yeah, I mean 3 threat. He feels like probably threat for threat, the second best character in the box.
I wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
Yeah, I like him. He's a 3 threat. He does 3 threat things, but he's not like a pushover either. I like him.
I
mean,
mean,
he's
a range 4 6 dice mystic attack for 2 power is still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, any roster that's got energy attacks, he's made a paper and is going to evaporate. But I mean, he is
I don't know. The
made of
value of DR is so strong that like
fair.
2 mystic
But,
doesn't or 2 energy
yeah,
doesn't feel terrible with
Yeah,
DR.
yeah,
let's
that's
break
fair.
this down. Let's break this down for people listening. So DR. So on any normal model who doesn't have something weird like martial artist or something,
Yep.
you have a 3 out of 8 chance of rolling a success
Yep.
on a marble die. So you have like a 9/8 chance on 3 dice to. So like on an average dice roll, you're averaging slightly above 1 success on 3 dice on an average roll. And we know marble dice aren't average, but just for the sake
Right.
of argument, 3
Right.
dice is equal to 1 point something defense, like low 1.1, 1.2
So
between there.
yep. Like if
So
you're going on the mean, 2 defense dice means you're going to be blocking 0.6, 0.7
something like that,
success.
yeah. But like if you're considering that 3 defense dice gets you 1 block, if you have DR, that's equivalent of 3 defense dice. So he kind of
But
has like pseudo 5 defense mystic.
actually probably a little better than that because you're basically guaranteeing that of the 3, one of them is going to be a success.
Exactly. Yep.
Which
Yeah.
is better than your odds are on that are better than if you're rolling 2 without DR. Yeah, so actually he's effectively got 3 plus defense dice for energy.
Yeah. Well,
DR is so good.
Which
I
is
mean,
which is a long and very mathy way of saying that the 2 energy defense probably isn't as big a deal.
DR is just really strong.
It is.
Mathematically, it's just really, really, really good.
It is.
And
It is.
the lower the threat you are, the more
Yes.
DR has value.
Yep. Well, the lower
Why do you
the
say that, David?
Because like it means you're gonna be having to put more resources because it's like it's kind of a game of resources, right? You're like deciding, do I need to put in how much resources do I need to put in to take this character down? So on a
Mhm.
3 threat, if they have DR, you're gonna have to put more resources into actually attacking them, as opposed to just a normal character that doesn't have DR.
I see what you're saying. I thought you were comparing like a low threat DR to a high threat DR. But even in that
No, I
scenario,
mean, I'm just saying that like the value of it as a 3 threat means that it's they're essentially it's like they have almost like a 4 threats durability. You know what I mean?
or more, yeah,
Or
DR is
more,
really
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think even more so when you have characters that have lower health pools, it becomes more valuable because each point of health is so much more important than, if you have an 8 health pool model, then it's less important than if you have a 5 health point model. The DR becomes, I think, probably on the margins more valuable for the lower health pool models.
Well,
I mean,
and like
forever.
just look
Go
at
ahead, David.
Tony. Like people don't realize how durable Tony actually
Oh
is.
my
Like 3 threat Tony, he is way
God,
more durable than people think he is.
he 100% is. Oh my God, he's so freaking annoying.
Yeah, we were kind of on the same wavelength there, David. I was gonna say, for anyone who's ever had a game where they just couldn't fucking kill that Luke Cage, they know
Yeah,
about DR.
yeah.
Yes.
When
Which
it's
is
like oh, I block 2, you do 2 damage, I take 1. Good job.
which is clearly why I want to drop him for the original Human Torch. Alex, what do you think? What do you think of Encanto?
I like I said, he's a 3 threat doing 3 threat things. I think he's solid for what he is. But then again, I've always had high praise for a lot of 3 threats out there, and uh, I like Incon too. I think you nailed it too, saying that he's the second best model in that box.
I'd like to talk about the modify skull in the wild a little bit more.
Okay.
So this guy, just by the nature of the game, is going to be collecting captured soul tokens, whether he's fucking destroying the world or just like picking dingleberries out of his butthole. Like, it doesn't matter. He's gonna be
Right.
getting tokens, and those tokens are doubling his chances of getting a wild on a hit, which is pushing and hexing.
Yeah. Which
Like,
I mean, and
it's really good.
It is, and it's when it's another character. So if it's his own guy going down, he gets a captured soul. If it's an opponent's guy going down, he gets a captured soul. So basically, anybody that's hitting the floor, he's getting a captured soul.
It applies to grunts.
And it applies to grunts.
This is the cheapest soul token character we've seen.
Yeah.
And getting
Is
free resources, yeah. There aren't that. Who has soul
It's only
tokens?
Hella and him, right?
Hella
I thought there was one more.
Not Soul.
Isn't there one more?
Punisher has his little weird things.
Okay, maybe
I
I'm
guess
thinking
they're
of Punisher.
technically the same, but I don't think Punisher gets them for when enemy characters.
You're right.
Days.
It's only allies.
I think he only gets it when allied characters get dazed or KO'd.
Hella's is when another character is dazed or KO'd, but she's a force.
Yeah, Hella's is when another. Hella's is worded the same as
Yeah, it's
Punisher doesn't cry for his enemies. He don't give a fuck.
he does
Yeah.
not care. He
only
out
cares
of,
about his fam.
he is out of fucks to give.
He's the Vin
Yeah, I
Diesel.
mean-
He's the Vin Diesel of the Marvel world.
Kind of is the Vin Diesel
Family.
Yeah, except he's got better hair.
He's got. Let me fix that for you. He's got hair.
He
that's-
just has it.
By definition, that's better hair then. I mean, let's face it. Okay. Any other thoughts on Encanto before we slide over and talk about the leadership?
I don't think so. He's good. He's
Yeah, I
solid.
don't think so either.
Yeah,
They haven't mentioned where these guys are affiliated yet. I mean,
Right.
they hinted at it, but they haven't actually. So,
Right.
that's going to be a thing
I agree.
to look out for.
I am interested to see where they're going to be affiliated because we do have an affiliation. We do have Thralls of Dracula, and it is a tactics card, and we're all excited about that. Thralls of Dracula.
Ooh, Tactics Cards Leaderships. Good job, guys.
We all love these. When this card is included in your squad, if your squad is unaffiliated and includes Dracula, you may play this card. Your squad is now using the Thralls of Dracula affiliation. Regardless of other affiliations, Dracula now gains the following leadership ability. Bloodlust. Once per turn, during an allied character's activation, it may pay 1 power and choose an enemy character within 2. The chosen enemy character gets the bleed special condition. If the chosen character already has the bleed special condition, this character may remove 1 from itself instead. So
Don't put it out with your boots, Hank.
David, I know you've been playing Dracula. Have you played his leadership at all?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Quite
So-
frankly, I think it's not very good.
That's the
Right,
biggest
so-
burning bag of poop I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Ooh, that
Now,
seems- I was about to say,
is there some use to the
Hulkbuster
fact that
feels
you
that
can take
that's harsh.
anybody?
yes,
I guess. I mean, it works for Hellfire, but Hellfire's leadership is so much better than than Dracula's. So it's like, well, and you're also taking a 5-threat leader.
right.
I don't know.
So, JP, if you were going to put together a Dracula leadership, if you were forced at gunpoint to put together a Dracula roster, what would you be looking at? What would you be thinking about how to maximize this?
The time I have left on Earth.
I don't even know. I feel like I don't know what this leadership is trying to do. Like, I guess we're just bleeding things. Cool. Like, I got to be within 2 of you. Most of the character, like Dracula, already bleeds anyway. So,
Well,
like,
Yeah,
And that's the thing. They took that theme and they're like, hey, what condition other than poison gets a lot of shit? Bleed. Let's take that and run with it.
I mean,
So
if this leadership had the ability to put multiple different conditions, like if it gave you a list besides just bleed, it might be
yeah,
good.
I'm totally with you on that one.
okay.
Like the redundancy of having characters with bleed is a bad redundancy. Just flat out fucking terrible. And then like the consolation prize of what is it? Gaining a power?
No, you
Like-
remove a damage. You
Oh,
remove a
remove a
damage.
damage. Like how realistic of like a jerking off sound do I have to make here? Like a
I'm gonna-
wet sound.
As the spokesman for the rest of the listeners, I'm gonna advocate for not very realistic at all.
What if I do it as Billy's grandpa?
I'm comfortably certain. I'm comfortably sure that makes it worse.
Okay, I'll step away then.
Thank you. We're all webheads. You're welcome. Alex, what pops in your mind when you read this?
I'm excited for it because I get to get a damage or power on Apocalypse because fuck yo bleed. It's garbage. It had a chance at being good. The only bleed is weird.
I don't like the range
It's a
restriction on it
tactics
too. The range
card.
2 is
Yeah, the
just
range
like
restriction's weird. It's a tactics card.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's a tactics card. I put that in there twice because I'm fucking sick of that shit. It's so bad.
Well, as your resident Sentinels player who seems intent on making bad leaderships work, it's clear that it wants to make Dracula a sort of like Defenders, where it wants to be close to everybody, because it incentivizes you being within 2, and then you just heal to hell. So when I was fiddling around with making a Dracula roster, I was just basically doing Dracula and all of the Healy basically all of the Wolverines, and just kind of
then
leaning into that.
you're still doing your like redundancy on bleed, right? Like
Well, but then
Wolverine
what,
bleeds. Like
right? But then,
doesn't X-23 bleed?
yeah. So
Like-
then so what you're doing then is you're tapping into the fact that, okay, I can I can pay a power at the start of the turn to heal 1, and then I'm gonna either heal 1 or 2 at the end of the turn, and either you one-shot me or you're never fucking killing me. And meanwhile, I'm gonna stab you in the face. That's all I got.
I still don't like the leadership.
Yeah, I think it's bad.
I'm not fighting you on that, but I think it's better than the Sentinels leadership.
And it takes a
So-
tactics card. Why didn't they just print it on Drax card? The leadership is
Yeah.
bad enough to where they should have just printed that shit on him.
Well,
Taking
they
a
need-
tactics card is just like kicking someone in the nuts when you already like knocked him on the ground. Like,
it's not wrong.
I feel like Dracula would just be better under so many other leaderships. Like there's just better leaderships that you could have him in.
It is. I think it is wildly ironic that Blade is really good under Dracula's leadership, but Dracula is far better under Blade's leadership.
Yeah.
So, any other kind of closing thoughts on the monsters? I'm just gonna kind of synthesize. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. I think I know Dave and I for sure, and JP and Alex less so. I know we were super stoked about them. after kind of seeing them, it's a little bit less excited. Is that David? You're my monster brother here. Is that kind of how you're feeling?
I'm still excited for Dracula. I think Dracula's very good.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's very good. Am I interested to see Encantu on the table?
Yeah.
I'm still like, I think he's gonna be good, but I got to see him on the table.
Okay. Alex, you're the Apocalypse stand. So, how excited are you going to be to introduce us to the future and grind these poor monsters into sand?
Caught him sleeping.
He's
Yeah, like, did we lose Alex?
He's so excited he's fallen asleep. That's fantastic.
I mean, I did a long pause like that on purpose because I'm just I'm not excited for the monsters. I said it earlier. It's not that they're like overall bad. It's just not my thing.
JP?
Well, typically I get excited for characters and not affiliations.
Right.
Just because this game is cool and you can splash whatever you want.
Right.
So, not to say that I don't like affiliations when they come out, but like if something really standout comes out, I get a lot more excited than hearing about a new affiliation.
Yeah, well, and just side note, it's not necessarily that I'm not excited for the whole affiliation or anything like. I'm just not excited for the box set in general.
I mean, I think the box set's a good value. How much is the MSRP, Alex?
I think it's 65, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 65
for 4 characters. That's pretty.
It's a solid deal.
That's very, very, very reasonable for an MSRP on that.
Well, don't worry about it because they'll also make you pay 120 for the Tomb of Dracula that nobody has any idea how to use.
Yeah. I think you build it on top of the Quinjet.
Okay.
What you do is you figure out a way to make the Quinjet fly on the top of the tower.
Reverse order.
So that way
yeah,
you can stand under the Quinjet wings.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
David with the big brain plays.
I'm sorry. Having a Quinjet parked outside the Tomb of Dracula is a baller play. I don't care what anybody says.
No, it's got to be parked on the Tomb of Dracula, like on the top of it.
Roof. Like on the roof. Yes,
yeah,
let's
like
go.
on the roof.
Let's go.
Liberals!
Maybe it's even flying at a weird angle, like it's crashing or something.
Well, it's already got it's got a stained glass window, so maybe there's a way that you can like have the Quinjet shadow coming across the stained glass window.
So ridiculous.
Anywho,
anyway, so I'm excited for Dracula. I think he's really good. Seeing him on the table, David playing him, he's definitely pushed. As far as the affiliation, I'm not super excited about it. I think Encantu's good, but Frank and Werewolf can suck a dick. The thing with Drac is like he's a 5-threat leader. I don't know. Well, I guess that begs the question: do you guys think that there's going to be other affiliated models in this affiliation, or is it just these 4 guys?
No, it's like Hellfire. You can put whoever.
Yeah,
it's just help. Oh.
I don't even know where these guys are going to be affiliated.
Okay.
Honestly, I have no idea.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's a question of how many of them are going to be Midnight Suns, and whether any of them are going to be anyplace else. Shit, maybe David, you'll get another convocation model.
This just demonstrates my complete fucking disrespect for that leadership. I don't even remember. Is included in your squad, unaffiliated, includes Dracula. You may shit in a bag. Okay, yeah, that checks out. Okay, so yeah, it is.
I mean,
Hellfire.
maybe Encantu ends up convocation, but I doubt it. They seem to be. I don't know. I feel like convocation is the affiliation that AMG forgot about, except for when they wanted to nerf their rule.
I would agree.
For those of you keeping track, David said shield and convocation twice each in this episode. So that's 4 shots.
Man, you guys are not drunk enough. David, hit it.
I feel like I feel like that's an accurate assessment of things. Okay. Any last thoughts on Monsters Unleashed before we wrap this up, gentlemen? David, anything else?
No, I ain't got anything else.
JP?
Nope.
Alex?
Nope.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for tagging along with us, webheads. Remember, patreon.com/wittybantercast if you want to get in on the giveaways, if you want to be able to have us dojoing, if you just want to help us keep the lights on, we would really appreciate it. Follow us on all the socials at Witty Bantercast. You can also email us at wittybantercast@gmail.com. Please, 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 if you would, take 2 minutes and give us a rating and a review on Apple Play, on Spotify, wherever you're getting your podcasts. We would really appreciate it. It makes a big difference helping other people find us, help keeping this growing. So with that, other than that, webheads, until next time, be good.